The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. We're here and I'm sporting a mustache because it's Movember. It's not going to last the show. I'm just going to tell you right now because it's a little itchy. But we want to support all of our men and men's health issues. And we've had these mustaches for the last week and a half, and we keep saying we're going to wear them. We keep forgetting to do that. So I'm wearing the mustache today. So important that as a woman that I want to support our men, and so important as wives that we support our men in making sure that they get the proper health care checkups. We all need to be doing that. I know I've shared before on the show that I've been to at least one conference where a doctor stood up and said, in our practice where we're treating kids with autism, we are seeing a really horrible incidence of the parents having 3 particular different types of cancers: breast cancer, prostate cancer, and colon cancer. We all need to be mindful of that and getting that checked. For all of us that are women, we need to be having our yearly exams, but we also need to be saying to the men in our lives, don a mustache today and say, honey, I support you and your particular health issues. Now go get that PSA checked, right? We all need to do that. Honey, you're on notice. If my husband is watching right now, wearing this for you, go get that checked. Okay. We're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. Couldn't be more thrilled to be here with you. We're just 1 week away from Thanksgiving. You can feel the holiday anxiety, and the holiday stress, and the holiday excitement starting to lift. We want to focus on all of those. We've got some stress tips for you a little bit later on in the show, but we've got some fun things for you to celebrate the holidays as well. So we have started our Festival of Toys, and every hour we have a featured toy of the hour. This hour, it is this fabulous Name 5 game from Endless Games. Endless Games is going to be with us on December 9th. Really want to encourage you to be here when they're with us here in the house. But so I'm going to be giving this game away today, Name 5. This is a game that's really great for everybody on the autism spectrum that's of a certain age where they can read. If your child is at the point where they can read, this is going to be really cool. They're going to need help if they can't read, but this kind of goes hand in hand with a game that we play when we're trying to teach things to children with autism anyway. But this gives great prompts. So sometimes you don't know what else to teach next. So they're fabulous little cards in here. We love to play this game at home. And they list different things, and it becomes a game that the people at the table have to list 5. For instance, on the back of the box here, I have one that's Name 5 Purple Foods. Oh my goodness, not so easy, right? How about name 5 movie remakes? Or how about 5 games to play in the car, or 5 breakfast cereals, or 5 college bowl games. Now, some of these are going to be harder for kids, but what I love about it is that they're on the same card. There are some that are harder and easier, and they're color-coded. You can make the choice to give one that's easier for the child, but what that does is it helps them to start putting together things in categories. And that gives them a bigger sense of global language. It's a very social game. Really, really love this. Endless Games is fabulous at creating board games. And as I said, they're great for everybody, but this one in particular I really like for our kids on the autism spectrum. They have a bunch of games that I like for our kids on the spectrum. So I love this. Can you name 5 things that could make a person sneeze? this is a way that we help our kids' brains to get more plastic. They have to look at things from a different direction. They can hear other people listing off the 5 things. They can watch other people thinking it through. They can work together in pairs. Really, really enjoy this. It's meant to be a board game, but we've taken this game in the car before and just had the cards and gone through them and listed 5 things. It's really, really fun, and it's a conversation builder. So absolutely love this. Comes from Endless Games. We're going to be giving this toy away. If you want to win any of the toys that we feature in the Festival of Toys, and we've got a lot of toys. Oh my goodness, do we have a lot of toys coming. If you want to win any of these great, great toys, you have to do a couple of things. You have to already be signed up for our email list. When you do that, we don't sell our email list, but you get the free newsletter and you'll get a weekly update about who's going to be on the show, which is really useful. You get sort of an insider behind the scenes, and we've got some coupons coming for you that we think you're going to really enjoy. So sign up for the email list, and then you've got to email me and tell me which toy you are interested in and why you want that toy. You must include your mailing address because I have to know where to mail it. If you don't send me an email address, then I don't know where to mail it. We will not abuse that not an email address, a physical mail address. I have to know where to mail it to. I can't email this. Wouldn't that be nice if we could teleport games to you through your computer? I can't do that, but I have to have your mailing address so that I can send it to you. And so you can send that to s.penrod@autism-live.com. Of the appropriate responses and people who are on the email list, we will choose one winner to win this fabulous game. And we have another game from Endless Games coming up in the next hour. Now, I mentioned yesterday that you can only win one toy, but that's one toy per day. So I mentioned that we may be giving away some plasma cars on Tuesday. Wink, wink. I just want to give you guys a heads up. I have multiple plasma cars to give away on Tuesday, but that doesn't mean you can't win a game today and win a plasma car on Tuesday. I really want to encourage you. I'm whispering as if somebody's going to hear us. I want to encourage you to sign up on the email list, and you can enter as many times as you have people on the email list. So you can be on our mailing list. Your significant other can be on the mailing list. Your sister-in-law can be on the mailing list. Your mother-in-law can be on the mailing list. And they can write to me and say that they want to win a game or a plasma car for your child. Okay, so wonderful. Hope that you'll participate in our Festival of Toys. So that's the Toy of the Hour, Name 5. And on Tuesday, we have some plasma cars. Make sure you tune in. Tuesday's going to be a great show, and I'm going to tell you about it later. Today's going to be a great show. What are we talking about here? So, by the way, this entire show always is meant to be interactive. If you want to comment on my mustache, if you want to comment on the games, if you want to ask a question, we encourage you to write in. There are lots of different ways that you can write in, lots of different ways to watch the show. Kelby's going to show you some of the different ways that you can interact with us, right? I'll remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you go there, lots to do. Up in the left-hand corner, on the little board there's a place where it says join our mailing list. That's where you want to go to sign up for that mailing list. You have to be on the mailing list in order to win. But also there are other things that you can do. Check out the blog. I'm going to be referring to the blog today. And you can be watching the live show, or you can watch a recently recorded live show, or you can watch any of the shows in our previous playlist. But you can also interact on that page. There are the series of white boxes. Put your cursor in the one that says your question, start typing, hit enter, that's it. There's no username, there's no password to remember, there's no credit card to put in because it's free, and that's all you have to do. It does take a couple of minutes for it to wind its way up to the satellite and come back down here to me, so send your questions early and often. You know what they say, vote early and often. Same thing with this. Early and often. Put your questions in, and we will have time later on to get to some of the questions. Okay, I'm going to take my mustache off so that we can do something that we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym, and we try to figure out what in the heck are these experts talking about? Could somebody please say this in plain English so that I can understand and use this in my life? We give you an actual definition, and then we give you a working definition so that hopefully you can have an idea of how to use this in your life today, okay? So Today's jargon term is adaptive skills. What are we talking about when we're at a meeting and somebody says, oh, we're working on adaptive skills for this? Our actual definition for adaptive skills is age-appropriate behaviors necessary for people to live independently and to function safely and appropriately in daily life. All right, that's a pretty good definition, and it's pretty accessible for us. We can see, all right, these are the kinds of things, but let's take it down a notch to see specifically what are we talking about. For our working definition, it is real life skills such as grooming, dressing, safety, safe food handling, school rules, ability to work, money management, cleaning, making friends, social skills, and personal responsibility. Now, this is just the beginning of a list of adaptive skills. There are all kinds of things that we didn't begin to cover here. Like yesterday, we were talking about dressing. So anything that a person needs to do to be able to live the most productive life that they can, that really comes under the heading of adaptive skills. And it's important that we understand all of that because when we're at school, here in the United States, all of our kids have the right to a free, appropriate public education. And if you look at the idea, the act that gives them the right to that. One of the things that it lists is that they need to be getting an appropriate education, an appropriate curriculum for them, but they also need to be working on skills that help them to be able to lead their life afterwards and get a job. There's specific wording about that, but that's really what it entails. So we have a right to have our children learn the skills that they're having difficulty with at school. I know it gets into a really touchy argument right now with insurance companies about who pays for what when a child is at school. A lot of times there's one funding source that will cover adaptive and they'll pressure for the school to cover academic. I want us all to remember, let's get our funding sources where we can, but we can go to schools looking for help with adaptive skills. It's written into IDEA. And these skills have such an important place in our children's curriculum because they build self-esteem, they build their ability to be independent, and that is a lovely, luscious thing. They all deserve the right to be able to achieve the best, highest outcome that they can. And a lot of times, adaptive skills make the difference of whether somebody is happy or whether they're frustrated. So make sure that you include adaptive skills and understand what we're talking about when anybody brings up those words. It's a really important and good thing. All right, moving on. We always have a question of the day for you, and our question today, we've been talking a lot about toys. We want to know, what toy are you hoping to purchase this holiday season? What's on your list already? Do you know what's on your list? Do you have an idea of what should be on your list? We're going to be doing sort of a play refresher a little bit later on, where we're going to talk specifically, I think we're doing that in this hour, we're going to talk specifically about the different kinds of toys and what purpose they serve and why you might be looking for a certain toy as opposed to another kind of toy. So stick around for that, but I really want to know, like, what's on your list? Every year there's like a hot toy, right? What's your hot toy this year? What is it that your child is asking for, or what is it that you're wanting to give them? Because you've got some sort of a big heart for a certain toy. Maybe it reminds you of when you were a kid, or maybe you've seen another child make progress with it, but what's the toy of your dreams this year to give or to get? Because we can include you in this, right? We're just big kids all at heart, and we want to get toys too. It's all the technology. That's all the technology is. Toys, 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 and we love it. Okay, so moving on, we always have a topic for the week, and everybody keeps thinking I'm going to say the topic is toys. That's not quite it. We want a bigger topic than that. The topic is getting to the good stuff. That's what it's all about. I need to be reminded of this as much as anybody else about what's the good stuff. The good stuff are those little teeny tiny moments when you go, man, we're doing something. I'm speaking tonight, by the way, any of you who are in the Riverside, California area, I'm speaking, and I'll get the actual location of it, but I am speaking tonight in Riverside, California, and love it. It's for parents, and the topic is an Autism Parent's Guide to Progress. So love it if you'd come. Opportunity to ask questions and meet me and talk and meet a bunch of other parents. Love to have you there. And I was thinking about this last night and going through my notes about what we're going to be talking about and thinking about all the things that I have now and all the great stuff that happens in our lives on a daily basis and all the times when I hoped and prayed for those moments and how we got there, how we got to the good stuff. And I'm, please do not think that my life is all, Valentines and little butterflies and, it is not all that. But there are so many moments in the day that I try to appreciate when I remember to, and I don't always, when something happens and I want to remember all those moments because there was a time when I would have done anything for my son to be able to say to me, "Oh, Mom, that just frustrates me when you say that," or "Oh, Mom, I'm really not interested in that," or to have him yak my ear off about something that I'm not interested in, right? He wants to talk about that video that he saw on YouTube, and it's like womp 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 womp, and I think, oh my gosh, I just can't hear about another video on YouTube. But there was a moment when I would have given anything. I used to look at people who had 4-year-olds and they would say to me, "Oh, don't you just hate this phase where they just say, why?" You ask them to do something, they go, "Why? Why would you do that? Why?" And I used to think, oh, I will never complain about my son saying why. And you heard me last week say to Dr. Granpeche, yell upstairs and say, "Can you come down here?" And he goes, "Why?" And Dr. Granpeche reminded me, be very happy that he's saying that. And I thought, yeah, no kidding. That is the good stuff. That is the good stuff. We worked hard to get there, and it's important to appreciate, and I want you to be able to get to the good stuff. I do remind you at the start of the show that we have a lot of experts on the show, but I'm not one of them. I'm just in the trenches with all of you, trying to figure out how to get to the most progress personally for myself and to get my son to the most progress and for us to lead the happy, productive life that we want to lead. Not that somebody else wants to lead, us to lead, but that we want to lead. So important that that I'm just learning as we go along. But we want to get to the good stuff. We want to be able to get to that moment. And I made my little deal with the universe years ago that I said I wanted to do everything that I could to help my child, and then I would turn around and help as many people as I can. That's the deal here. I want to be able to help you to get to your good stuff. It'll be a different path than our path, and I don't know what your path is, but I'm happy to listen to you and help to kind of begin to sort it out and give you some resources that will help you to further sort it out. Sounds like a good deal? That's why I'm here. Okay, let's all get to the good stuff. It's amazing. It's there. It's waiting for us. And in some cases, it's already here. So some of the different things that we have going on in the show today, my thing won't swipe and it's not there. In any case, we had Christina Rosenbergs on the show yesterday. She joined us from the floor, live from the floor of OcaliCon 2014. She was at the Innovation Playground. Oh my gosh, how much would I love to be there in person, but hey, it's the next best thing that you and I get to virtually travel there. She's going to be talking with us with some more people who are demonstrating products, cutting edge products that are designed to help individuals on the autism spectrum. So we're going to be tuning in with her a little bit later on this hour. We do have some autism news, including an update on the Jerry Seinfeld story. And we're going to continue on with our Festival of Toys, and we're really going to break down what do toys do and what function does that serve for anybody in terms of their growth process, but in particular, individuals with autism. So we're going to be doing all of that and ever so much more. Unfortunately, I mentioned this yesterday. I know some of you didn't get the word that Dr. Nadowski and Dr. Tarbox are traveling today and are unable to join us. And I know some of you have written in some questions for them that unfortunately we do not have them to answer, but I will be answering some of your questions that are not clinical in nature, and you can ask me questions. Fair game, open season here. So stick with us. More of Autism Live after these messages.
Hi, this is Lisa Ackerman. Talk of Facts. One of the questions we hear all the time, how do I know if a treatment is working? If my child has a negative response or looks like a negative response? Well, there's two things you should look for. All medical interventions need to have clear evaluation guidelines with your physician. You should talk to your doctor ahead of time. If there's a negative response, should you stop, or does the negative response mean that treatment's working? Let me give you a really solid example. Almost every child living with autism at one point in time will have a yeast overgrowth. And yeast is extremely common in children with gut and gastrointestinal issues. And when you're not pooping on a regular basis, yeast and other bacteria tend to build up in your gut. Once you treat yeast, often you will have a negative response. What's really important for families to understand, in those clear evaluation guidelines with your doctor, they should tell you, hey, your kid may be cranky for a few days following the treatments. There are different things you can do to work with your doctor to lessen that cranky period. But the bottom line is, if you don't have clear evaluation guidelines with your physician, you don't know if that treatment is a stop. You have a negative response, stop, which that should be clear with your doctor, versus a negative response of, that means the treatment's working. So my favorite thing when we talk to a family that are about to go through yeast treatments with their kid after extensive evaluation and labs is, your kid's going to be a jerk, but oh my God, it's going to be great in a few days, followed by beautiful behavior. So now you know. We'll be back with another Talk of Fact real soon. Take care.
Welcome back to Autism Live. That was the wonderful Lisa Ackerman from TACA. I want to encourage everybody to go to tacanow.org. Great place to find a wide variety of resources. For those of you who are writing in biomedical questions and you have concerns about what to do and when to do biomedical, we always urge, if you're going to be working on things medically with a child, please make sure that you're working with a medical expert. But sometimes you need to have somebody that's holding your hand along the way, and it can be very expensive to call your medical doctor with a bunch of questions that don't necessarily require a medical doctor. What I love about TACA, one of the many things I love about TACA is that they have free TACA mentors. These are parents who've been there, done that. They can help you on your way. All you have to do, join TACA, let them know that you're looking for a TACA mentor. They will assign someone who is appropriate for you, that has some of the same interests and issues that you might be going through, so that, for instance, if your child is having a lot of issues with pica, they'll try to find you another parent who their child was dealing with pica as well, so that you've got a reference point. As close as they can, they'll match you up to somebody that it makes a great deal of sense, right? And then that parent is then available to you to answer questions that you might have as your child is going through. Like, they'll help you to get together your list of questions before you go to the medical doctor, things to ask them there, and they'll help you to get to the good stuff, honestly. So I really love that. TACA is an amazing organization. Again, it's tacanow.org. I encourage you to go to their website, tootle around. You could spend the next week there. Don't get lost in the TACA site. But it really is one of the most comprehensive sites with information for parents of individuals who are on the autism spectrum. So many resources. They give away their free TACA guides, which it's amazing resources. And it's really wonderful. And then look under locations to see if there is a group near you. There may be a physical group that meets and has a coffee talk where you can sit and talk with other parents and say, why am I having so much trouble talking with the school district? Because we're going about to talk about an IEP question in a second. Who's the person at the school district to talk to who gets it? And then somebody who's already negotiated that says, oh, don't talk to this person, talk to this person. It'd be so much easier. And you go, oh, I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. Some groups don't meet physically. Some meet just online. My particular group, I get a daily digest, which details all of the questions that everybody's asking and all of the answers that they're getting online. So somebody can write in and say, hey, I don't know where to get my child's haircut. Does anybody know somebody who's really good? And somebody writes in and says, oh, I've been to so-and-so, and they're just so patient, and they're so good, and they understand when I say don't use the clippers, or they understand when I say don't use the scissors, because some of our kids can't do the clippers, and some of them can't can't do the scissors. You know what I mean? So useful, belonging to a TACA group. Okay, so speaking of IEPs, we had a question that came in yesterday towards the end of the hour with Nancy Alspaugh Jackson, and I promised, excuse me, that I would address this question today. So I like to keep my promises. A person wrote in and said, I'm attending an IEP meeting for my son, 6 years, coming up this week per school request. Although requested, I do not have the agenda other than knowing we are to discuss options for him. They had suggested at the last meeting out of district placement, and we took 2 tours. Neither option was appropriate. Trust me, I'm not unreasonable. Please arm me with a literature study or where to find must-have information that will help make my case for ABA, intensive ABA, and qualified BCBAs. Compliance, aggressive behavior, elopement, and missing significant instructional time were all measured to a very high degree. Okay, so let's talk a little bit. You've given me some good information about the fact that your child is 6 years of age, and that you've already had an IEP meeting where they requested an out-of-district placement. So I'm guessing that means that they were offering to pay for the child to go, and if they're saying out of district, are they offering to send him to a school that is specifically an autism school? And I would assume that they're not only offering to pay the tuition for that, but they're also offering to pay for the busing to do that. Because here's the thing that schools have to do. They have to, that FAPE, F-A-P-E, they have to provide a free, appropriate, public education. So they've got to have a placement for your child that is appropriate. And this is the biggest, most important word that you need to throw around all the time. We want to be careful when we're in IEPs. Always, always, always make sure that you bring a tape recorder, because that will cut down on ridiculous behavior on the part of the school. And I always say that, and I'm a former teacher, and I have nothing but respect for good quality teachers, and there are so many of them. People go, are there really ridiculous things that get said at IEPs? It is shocking to me. It is shocking to me, but when the tape recorder isn't there, it's fair season. On both sides that things can get said. Bring the tape recorder and let that be a reminder to you that you must be on your best behavior. And then use the word appropriate at will. Like, think of it as, your cannon on your pirate ship, and just fire that puppy every 10 seconds. Say appropriate until they're rolling their eyes. Because that lets them know, saying the word appropriate lets them know you did your homework. Do not say, I want what's best for my child. I know you do. We all do. It's reasonable to want what's best for your child, but don't say that. Say, I'm only asking for what's appropriate for my child. You say here that you're completely reasonable, and I know that you are, because as a group of people, we are reasonable. We've been forced to be reasonable, right? But, honestly, saying appropriate is the word that you want to keep saying, and that screams reasonable, and there's nothing they can do about it if you keep saying appropriate. And anytime they say something to you, if they say, well, we want to send your child to XYZ school, then question them and say, I'm sorry, why do you feel that that's appropriate? What are you basing your decision on? Why are you saying that that's appropriate? Keep throwing that word around. It will let them know that if they're going to drag this out, you have a case against them because you're saying appropriate. And I spent a lot of time before I went to my first ever IEP for my son. I'd sat on the other side of the table, had no concept, I have to say, quite honestly. But before I went to my son's first IEP, I looked up the word appropriate in every dictionary I could get my hands on until I found one that had the definition that I wanted. And I wish I could tell you, I don't have my big book with me that I took. I have it still, but I didn't bring it with me today. But look up appropriate until you find one of the definitions. I don't think it's Merriam. But one of the definitions said effective. And I read that into the tape recorder. I said, I know that what we're looking for is an appropriate education here. And there are many different definitions of appropriate, but in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it defines appropriate as being effective. So I want to talk about what's appropriate, and obviously, I want to talk about what's effective. I know you're not in the business of doing anything that's not effective, right? Because what are they going to say to you? Oh, no, we plan on doing something that's not effective. They can't do that. They're not going to say that with the tape recorder running, right? So then we're saying appropriate, but we've let everybody know that appropriate is something that's effective. And so every time that they would say, well, here's what we want to do, and I would say, do you have any data showing that that's effective? Because again, I want to do what's appropriate for my child. That is one of the quickest ways to demonstrate to the school district that you're nice, you're reasonable, but you're not going to get walked over. Now, are there studies? There are tons of studies, and if you send me your email address, I will send you links to at least 5 studies that show that ABA is effective. But at this day and age, most schools know that. You can say that with a tape recorder running and say, well, we all know there are multiple studies, and as I said, I can send the links to you. You can have them printed up, and you can pull 5 of them out and say, I have 5 studies right here that show the effectiveness of ABA, and one study in particular that shows that ABA is much more effective at creating progress than a child in these other school programs. So do you have any data to show that what you're offering is effective if they're offering something other than good quality ABA? They don't have anything. They can't afford to have anything. So this is how we shut down the argument about anything other than ABA. When they start talking about, oh, well, we have an autism program, great. What's your methodology? Do you have any data? And then you wait. There's this thing that you do when you're negotiating with people. I call it the cricket factor. You put out the thing that you know they don't have, right? And then you get silent and still. And you listen for the crickets. Cricket, cricket, cricket. And don't say anything. Let them talk. Because what they will do is invariably get nervous and say something that they shouldn't. And that is when and how you win your case. So practice the fine cricket art and let there be silence. It's so important, though, for us as parents to remember that every school district is different. And it may be, I want to plant this bug in your ear, that it may be that the program, and you said you toured, and that it was not appropriate. And I totally believe that. But they've got to have something, or you have to find something. And it doesn't sound like to me that they're getting it done at the school that you're at. So it's incumbent upon you to figure out what would be appropriate then. Don't just go to them and say, well, what do you have that's appropriate? Do your due diligence. Find something that you would be thrilled with and say to them, I don't see anything that's appropriate and you don't have any data, so I have this. And, this I think is appropriate, and this is why I think it's appropriate, and then be silent and let them decide if they're going to pay for it. And they won't decide in that moment right there, right? Make sure that when you do find what it is that you want your child to do, put it in writing. But don't get stuck in the idea of thinking, well, I want him to stay at this school, because if you continue to have compliance issues, aggressive behavior, elopement, and missing significant instructional time, that's not getting it done either. So talk to the TACA group near you and find what is the school situation that you want your child to be in. Or, is there a center-based system that you can put your child? I don't know where you are in the world, but find the ideal circumstances that will work where you are, and then go in and tell them, I'm totally open to talking about things that are appropriate based on data. So what do you have? Cricket, cricket, cricket. And then say, I found this, and this is what we'd like to have. But do not get stuck where you are, and don't get into, we all have to remember, don't fight for something that isn't working just because it's the same as it's been. If it's not working, be willing to let it go and find something better. Okay, so let me know, and if you send me your email, then I'll be able to send you those studies, but send it early because I'm speaking tonight and I'm not at the office as long as I would be today. All right? Okay. Moving on, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about toys and how they work and why they work. So stick with us.
Hi
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. This month we're going to be making a placemat prompter. As we work on this activity, you'll notice that these icons will pop up. These tell you important information about what skills we're using to create the craft and how to access these lessons in the Skills program. Skills is the ABA-based online tool that helps parents educate their children that are on the autism spectrum. And if you are a Skills user, this will help you get the most out of this educational experience. Well, let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are the template from our Facebook page at facebook.com/autismlive and your dishware. This activity is going to help your child be able to set the table on their own. The way we do that is by using this prompt. This template acts as a placemat for the table. So it has all the prompts as to where all the dishes and utensils need to go on the table. And as your child gets better in remembering where everything goes, you can remove prompts to make it more challenging for them. And lo and behold, as time goes on, they'll be able to do it independently without any prompts. Well, I hope you enjoy this really super quick and helpful activity. Well, until next time, guys, craft on! To find more about Skills and to access all of the lessons you saw in today's Smarty, visit skillsforautism.com and click on the parents icon. Skills, the online autism solution.
Welcome back. I decided we didn't have enough time to do all the talk about play yet, and I wanted to do something shorter because we have this wonderful interview coming up for OcaliCon. So instead, we've moved things around, and we're going to talk a little bit about our news update. Two stories that I want to talk to you about today. I talked a little bit a week ago about the Jerry Seinfeld story and my grave disappointment at the way a lot of people were behaving. That so many people were calling him out and saying, you don't have autism, my child has autism. And as I said last Thursday, you know, one autism parent to another parent, my goodness, we're all entitled to our anger. And I know that your anger comes out in different ways. And sometimes I just get mad about things and I can't really explain it. And I completely get that. However, I think it's so important that we publicly present a face, that we behave. You know how they say, be the change that you want to be in the world? I think that the first thing that we have to do as autism parents is purport ourselves the way we hope other people will towards our children. We're always saying, if you've seen one person with autism, you've seen one person with autism, and please don't judge my child by that person with autism. I hate it when somebody says, oh, well, your child's doing so well, he doesn't have issues. I know my child's doing so well, and I'm thrilled that my child is doing so well. And a lot of times he's carrying it off and making it look like it's all so good, but the truth of the matter is he still struggles with some things. He doesn't look like it, but he is struggling with those things, and it bums me out when I have to explain to people, but he's a human being and he's having difficulties with something and he still needs your compassion, and he still needs your kids to be compassionate. That's a hard thing to constantly be asking. And when our kids make progress and we want to celebrate it and say, look at how great my kid did, and other people don't recognize it because our kids don't look like it. They don't look like they had a problem. They don't look like they have a problem. So I really have to take issue with, and I asked last week and said to all the autism parents, let's please treat Jerry Seinfeld the way we would want anyone to treat our kids. First of all, he didn't say that he had autism. He didn't. He said on a very drawn out scale of autism, of the spectrum, on a very drawn out scale, that he might be somewhere on the spectrum. That's what he said. That was the quote. And so many people have taken him to task for that. It really bums me out. And now he's clarified. And he spoke last night on Access Hollywood and said to Billy Bush, I don't have autism. I'm not on the spectrum. And he clarified and said that once again, that he said on a very drawn out scale, that he might be somewhere on the spectrum. And he was talking about some of the difficulties that he has with social things. And I just don't think we should discount when somebody says, I have a problem with this, even though they look like maybe they don't. I feel so bummed that he had to clarify, and I'm really, you want to talk about autism mommy anger? I'm angry at all of the news outlets who today and last night and tomorrow are featuring and saying, Jerry Seinfeld has backtracked. I'm sorry, that's a lie. He didn't backtrack. He didn't say, he never said I have autism. He did not say that. He is not backtracking. That's not what happened. A bunch of people misquoted him. A bunch of people got angry. A bunch of people had opinions about it, but he didn't say that. And now they're saying that he's backtracking. He's clarifying for everybody who might have misconstrued what he said, but he never said that he had autism. This is a human being who says, I struggle with some of the same issues that our kids struggle with. Can we please get a compassion bone? And I encourage everybody who's out there, when you hear somebody talking about this, to speak up and say, you know what, I'm sorry, I beg your pardon, he didn't say that. It's just driving me crazy. But in any case, he, you know, bless him, he's out there and he's talking about it, and I appreciate him. Jerry Seinfeld, I appreciate you more than you could possibly know for so many reasons. Other story that we have for you today, there is some new research coming out of Madison, Wisconsin, from a company called Stemina Biomarker Discovery, and they are hoping to bring to market in 2017 a new metabolism-based autism blood test. They're hoping that they can take an individual's blood, and they have a machine that they can put it through to separate certain factors to be looking for things that might be a marker to show that a child is more likely to be on the autism spectrum. Some of the things that they'll be looking at are, one thing in particular is a carnitine deficiency. Carnitine is something that helps to break down fat, and when you don't have it, it can lead to a negative gluten reaction. What I find fascinating is that the woman who has been behind this is someone whose child was not diagnosed with autism until the age of 15. And they have been able to do some dietary changes for her child, and he's doing remarkably well. And she is hoping that this will help to change the way we look at autism, to help identify some people who are on the spectrum earlier in a way that's more definitive, instead of relying on another person's viewpoint on a scale of, you know, how is my child doing today versus another day. It can make such a huge difference. So again, Stemina Biomarker Discovery is hoping to bring that to market in 2017. There are some things that people are concerned about, that there might be the room for a false negative, that someone could be deemed to not have autism, and then a parent might not further follow up. I think that we can overcome that. I think that if we could get a blood test that could say this child is at risk, I think it would lead to us being more diligent as opposed to less diligent. So we'll look forward to that in 2017 and to hearing more about it. All right, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to travel to, CaliCon 2014. Stick with us.
When you find out you're having a boy, you always think like, oh, he's going to play football, he's going to do this and that. And then when he's diagnosed, all those things get washed away.
It's like that piece that's always in the back of your mind, you know, where is he, what is he doing, is he safe?
We really didn't know what we were dealing with. I wish that they could have directed me a little bit more and provided me some information.
I was a young mom. I didn't know what it was like to raise a boy, despite a boy with autism.
Hundreds of thousands of families are not getting the help they need for their children with autism all around the country. ACT Today is determined to bridge the gap. These families really have to go through a lot to get a grant. The application process isn't easy. The records, the diagnosis proof, they're really battling for their kids. So when we can give them a grant, it is so wonderful to see that they succeed in getting that help for their children. Our founder, Dr. Doreen Graham-Piché, is an amazing woman, and she is one of the world's foremost authority on behavior of children with autism. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she oversees every single grant we give. She is part of that process. People may think of autism care and treatment as simply schooling or therapy, but we provide important safety supports, things like fencing, for example. The whole family's living in fear of that child running out into traffic. I recently delivered an iPad to a little boy with some of the apps that are out there for children with autism. Miracles happen.
I got the iPad from ACT.
From ACT,
What did it say? Can you repeat that, Dustin?
I got the iPad from ACT.
We have helped so many military families, and when I think of these brave families that are fighting two battles, one to protect our country and one for the right treatment and care for their children, it breaks my heart, and I think we have to do more as a nation to help them.
There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't think about it. Some people say, oh, he's normal. You don't see the battles that I see every single day. My husband does have to deploy, and when they get on that bus, that might be the last time that my kids ever see them.
So I called, and they informed me that he had received the grant, which was like a blessing from above. I was just like speechless. I just started to cry because, without it, we would have been lost.
The ACT grant was a total miracle. Without that, we wouldn't be able to receive the service dog. So we're so appreciative what they've done for us as a family.
Recently, ACT Today funded a program for military children with autism in San Diego, the Inclusion Films program, which is run by Joey Travolta, and teaches kids on the autism spectrum literal filmmaking skills. They learn how to make a movie.
Are we ready? There you go, got it. Okay. Everything that goes into the process of making a film goes into everyday life. So they're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate.
It was really nice to know how much they were enjoying this camp, and they're with people who are supporting them and are making them feel great about themselves and their differences and their similarities. And I get two kids that are working together and apart and together and apart, so it's an interrelationship as well as a camp and a learning experience.
It's so fulfilling when I get letters. One stands out for me, a boy who was 14 with Asperger's, and we gave him a grant to go to a drama camp. He wrote to us and said, "Dear ACT Today, thank you for letting me belong for the first time in my life." These kids are remarkable. We underestimate them. They're so knowledgeable, they're so capable, and we can change the life of a family, which means changing the life of a community.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm so excited because right now you get to travel with me virtually to Ohio. We're dropping in to OcaliCon 2014. Christina Rosenbergs is live at the Innovation Playground. Christina, welcome back. So thrilled to have you back again today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
And for people who weren't watching yesterday, OcaliCon is 2014, amazing event. You can still get to it today. And for the first time, they're having the Innovation Playground where they're showcasing products that are innovative, cutting edge, that help individuals on the autism spectrum. We saw some amazing products yesterday, but I'm so excited because I see the two people who are standing there next to you. Christina, tell us who's with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited to have them with me as well. I have Claude Bow from RoboKind, and Milo the robot is here to talk with us today and show some of his expressions.
He is so cute. I can hardly stand it. And my son is one of Milo's biggest fans. I cannot wait to show him this in the show later on tonight when he's home from school. So, Claude, talk to us about RoboKind and talk to us about Milo.
All right, well, RoboKind is actually a pioneer in something called social robotics. We are all social beings, and in the development of our ability to interact, there are certain things that children need to learn, and we were able to develop a program that made this robot a humanoid expression of emotion. And children with autism really struggle with emotion because there's so much going on. And we found in early research that they'd rather work with the robot than an adult. So we decided to use that strength that they have to help them develop their weakness.
I love it.
It's not uncommon to see them wave at the robot and begin to talk to him, where in other cases they would not talk to an adult.
Absolutely. I see that in my son. So I understand that you can show a little bit of that emotion to us that Milo does so well. Can
All right,
can
so
we
we're going to
see?
show you some things, and I'm going to get some assistance here.
Okay.
So just pick anyone you want to pick. If you focus on the robot,
Oh.
and this is very critical for children, as they look at some of these expressions, there is a curriculum that we provide staff which helps children understand the difference between a sad face, a happy face, the context, when I may have a tantrum.
I love it.
Try a few more. Anything else? Good.
Yeah.
What's very unique to the program is that we have worked with experts in the field of autism to do three things. One, Milo can speak many different languages, and in the case of English, he uses very controlled language so children begin to understand things as they are related with what we call visual support. I'm going to point to something here which you may not see, but pictures actually come up. If I said train, you'll see a picture of a train. If I say hi, you'll see somebody waving. It really helps children incorporate language. But the other thing that he does a personalized learning plan for every child, and we have over 500 video vignettes that show children doing the behaviors with other children. We call that video modeling. And we actually do data collection for staff and for teachers and parents so they can see the progress that children make.
I got to tell you, I'm blown away. He's amazing. The work that you've done with him is just amazing. You got to tell us, where can people get access to Milo? Where can they be using Milo in conjunction with their children?
All right, well, we'll start off with them. They can visit our website, www.robokindrobots.com. And as they visit the website, they can hear about the authors who actually put together the curriculum, as well as they can see some things that the robot can actually do. In terms of what we have done in terms of using the program, we work with the Autism Treatment Center in Dallas, as well as a number of sites that are going to do what they call a fidelity check to see how well he works with different populations. But so far, the feedback has been fantastic. Children, when they meet him, they don't really want to leave, but he becomes a friend for them.
Yeah.
And that's half the battle. Keep them engaged, get them to learn, and collect the data to show the progress.
I love it, and I love you, and I love him. This is just remarkable. So how many Milos exist right now? Are there many Milos, or are there just a few Milos?
Right now we have over 50 Milos in the U.S., and some of them are with the university for continued research. We are setting up about 35 partnership sites for validation of fidelity of the content, as well as in other cases where we're using Milo to help other children outside of autism to learn some basic social skills that affect their ability to work in classrooms.
Well, honestly, I'm gobsmacked here. I'm just blown away. He's incredible. Absolutely incredible. I hope that you'll let us know where you're going to be, because after this, every parent's going to want to bring their child to see this. And so I want to know every time you're at an event so I can tell people on the show where they can go to meet Milo.
Well, we actually have a schedule of the events that we'll be going to over the next couple of months on the website, so you feel free to visit that and convey that. We do really appreciate the excitement that he's generated and your support.
Absolutely. He's remarkable. So thank you so much for showing him to us. And Christina, we're going to take a break, but then when we come back, tell us a little bit about who we're going to be talking with.
Yeah. Thanks again for having Milo on. Next, we're going to be speaking with Denise Wong-Caruso, who's a board member here at Ocalicon, and she's been involved in the Innovation Playground. She was actually manning a station a little bit earlier, so we're going to be hearing from her reactions about the conference in general, her experience with this first ever Innovation Playground.
Okay, great. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with that. Let's say goodbye to Milo. Bye, Milo. Take a look. We'll be back after these messages.
What is autism? What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time.
Let me think about that one.
Trying to, just,
Let me think. Oh man, that's a rough one. Yes.
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects many of our kids in different ways.
It's a learning disability that affects the cognitive functions of the brain.
A lot of people have the misconception that it's a disability, and it's really not.
I look at it as like a special gift.
When one person thinks differently from another.
It's an opportunity for everyone to learn to understand someone that's a little different than them. Autism is the ability to educate.
They're given so much talent in different areas.
To me, autism means a chance to be with and be around people you really care about. Autism is beautiful.
It's a way of seeing the world differently.
It's always unique, totally intelligent, and sometimes mysterious.
Happiness that comes out of my son's hard work.
Is a movement.
Unpredictable.
Abstract.
Awesome. Love.
The field I want to work in.
Laughter, fun, joy. Autism is beautiful to me.
I want you to remember these 3 words. There is hope.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm all a Twitter because we have Christina Rosenberg's live at OcaliCon 2014. She is at the Innovation Playground, sharing with us some of the things that are there, helping us to be there, at least virtually. Christina, this is so exciting. Tell us who you have for us to speak with now.
Yeah, absolutely. I have Denise Sawan Caruso with me. She's a board member at OcaliCon, and she's actually been in and out of the Innovation Playground during the past few days, and like I said before, she was manning the booth a little bit, so she's seen firsthand some of the interaction, so I thought it'd be a great opportunity to talk with her about OcaliCon and the Innovation Playground, how she's seen it grow.
Denise, we're so thrilled that you are here with us and that OcaliCon has done this for the first year. Tell us about what the reaction has been. Has this been a huge success?
Well, the conference is always terrific. We have so many professionals and family members who come to the conference, and we have such a broad range of different topics that it's very exciting. And the Innovation Playground has been new this year, and the fun thing about it is there's no pressure. So you as a participant on the conference can go in and meet all these individuals who have interesting items like Milo for one, pressure vest, safe and sound. There's a lot of things that people can try, but there's no pressure to buy. And I think that's why it's very exciting.
I love it. It reminds me of, when they used to do the World's Fair and you could go into the area where it was all innovations and you could see sort of like Tomorrowland. But this is for autism. It's just a very exciting thing. I want to congratulate OcaliCon for all the work that they do and for having the foresight to really, the vision to be bringing this. I think you guys have created something that more organizations are going to be looking at. And you guys are no stranger to that. OcaliCon really sets a bar very high. Ocali itself sets a bar for other organizations about getting services and opportunities to families. Would you like to speak to that at all?
Well, we have some tremendous technology that allows a family or professionals to be able to access information, knowledge, training online. And so for many families and professionals who don't have the time to go to conferences, they can access some of our technology. And OcaliCon in itself then gives a chance for people to gather together every year, meet old friends, meet new friends, meet some of our more well-known speakers in the field. And so the combination is really extra special.
Now, we're friends. We've had Danny Bowman on the show several times, and I understand she was going to be doing the keynote speech today. Has that already happened?
It's already happened, and she, as you know, she's quite adorable.
Yes.
And quite energetic. And this is her first keynote, so she was very excited about sharing her information.
Wonderful young woman.
It's always amazing when you think of that she was 11 years old when she started her animation and 14 when she started her business.
Yes. Really, really, truly amazing young woman. She's an inspiration to a lot of us and to a lot of our kids. And your event is an inspiration. I want to reiterate that Ocali is an Ohio-based group, but OcaliCon is something that has visitors from around the world because it's such a worthwhile event. We have so appreciated getting to drop into the Innovation Playground. We think you guys are remarkable. We thank you so much for being with us.
Our pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I hope you guys have a great end to what has been a really remarkable event, and we hope we get a chance to drop in again next year.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to it.
All right. Take care, you guys.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, I love getting to go to a conference, and I like even better when I don't have to pack. It's just wonderful. We want to thank everybody at Ocali and OcaliCon 2014. We want to thank everybody at the Innovation Playground, and especially Christina Rosenbergs, who did such a great job of being our person on the street for us. We're going to take a break now and go to the A Word. This is an ongoing documentary being made by the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. And just a funny note, today the BBC is announcing that they have decided to make a new drama that's based on a series that was done in Israel first, and it deals with a child who is on the spectrum and their family. And it's not a reality show, it's a scripted show. And what are they calling it? They're calling it the A Word. So we have our own A Word here, documentary where we're following a family. Jack Riley was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2, and we get to drop in on his family and see how early intensive behavioral intervention works, literally works, and what it's like for the family undergoing that kind of a transformation. So take a look. This is the A Word.
I know a cute little blue-eyed boy, and his name is Jack. Jack Riley. He got a big, warm, blue-eyed soul that makes your heart beat fast.
That's so cool. Thanks, guys.
Over a year since he was diagnosed, and
10 months since he started ABA, and I don't think at the time we really understood that you can be happy, fun, and still have autism. We were at Disneyland trying new foods, and he's open-minded to it. Eating was a nightmare a year ago, and now it's not. Just in the last week, we've noticed like huge differences in what he was willing to try then versus what he's willing to try now.
You want to try a pear? Can you kiss it for a piece of cookie? You want to kiss it? Yeah. Come here.
Up to a few months ago, you show the kid a banana and he would go nuts. He ate it every day, but he didn't want to know that he was eating it. And a week ago, he asked for it.
just ate it. Now he asks for him every day, and he has a banana. I don't know what changed, but it just did.
So good.
Oh, that's so good. I wouldn't have even considered giving him a chewable vitamin 6 months ago. And I just hand it to him now and say he's got a chomp, and he knows that he has to crunch down on it.
Good job.
We're ecstatic about his development. I don't wake up every morning anymore thinking I have a child with autism. I just think I have two great kids.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the original, the one and only, the A Word, not the BBC version, the A Word. You can be watching that entire show on their very own YouTube channel. We also have a playlist on our YouTube channel for the A Word. Amazing, amazing, ongoing documentary following this family. I think it's so useful to us in so many different ways. When they first started doing this and somebody asked my opinion, I said, you know what, this is remarkable because it will give people an opportunity to see what happens. That arc that I'm always talking about, how you start here with this really ridiculously small lesson that you go, really? Seriously? That's going to help me? How? And then you see how that skill, it's like knitting a sweater. That's one little stitch, and then it gets locked together with this little stitch, which gets to get locked together with this stitch, and before you know it, you got a sweater. But it started started with one stitch and one stitch at a time, and then interlocking it with other things. And so with ABA, we're locking skills together so that the child gets to the point where they can do the skill that you want them to do, and they can do that in many other skills. So that's what leads to the good stuff. Our topic this week is getting to the good stuff. If, somebody wrote in yesterday and said, how on earth do I teach my child how to get dressed? And we've been talking about adaptive skills today, and Dr. Granpeesheh was talking about chaining. And that's exactly what we do, is we put one skill and then we link another skill to it, and that there are so many steps in being able to dress. And it feels like when you're doing it, I know as a parent, it feels like when you're doing it, it's like, oh, my whole life is going to go by and we're not going to get anywhere with this, right? But you see that you start to make progress, and it takes time. And what the mom was saying, I just would really love to have more time. If he would dress himself, I would have more time. And so you have to make the investment of the time in the beginning, and you teach these skills. But it's important to maintain skills, but honestly, once you give a child a skill like that they're going to do again and again and again anyway, like putting on their pants, if they're doing it every day themselves, very quickly, once they get that skill, you will get to the point where you don't have to invest any more time and energy into it, and you can invest your time and energy into something else. So what I like to remind myself is, I can take the next 3 months and be frustrated and be prompting him through it, or I could take the next, and I'll still need to be doing more after that because he won't have learned anything. Or I can take the next 2 months and work on this very slowly and methodically and have the rest of my life not teaching him about how to put his pants on. Excuse me. That's what ABA does. And the A word helps us to be able to understand why that investment is important early on. It's really remarkable. And now that there's more than 3 years to watch, it's pretty cool. We need to drop in on Jack Riley again, and we've got plans to do that soon. Definitely when we get into the new year. Now, I want to talk with you about the toy of the hour. Got another board game for you from Endless Games because I love them so much. And by the way, they're going to be joining us on December 9th for an interview talking about a new game that they've got that they feel is particularly great for kids on the autism spectrum. They have the game Cornered that we featured last year because it's so great for our kids on the spectrum, and they've got a new one that I want to be telling you about on the 9th. But they have some other games that they share with me in the meantime, and I looked at them and went, this is good for our kids on the autism spectrum too, just different ranges and different ages. So again, the one that we had earlier and this one, it's probably going to be for our kids who are a little bit older, a little bit higher functioning, but sometimes they're having problems with flexibility of thinking and flexibility with language. We need to get, in our environment, in our world, we need to get so flexible with language. And so if we have a child who is speaking and reading, but is sometimes a little too literal, this is the game that you want to get. It's called Oddly Obvious. Okay, now it comes with these handy dandy little cards, and I've got them on a little flip chart here so that I can demo them. But so colorful cards, right? And you can put these cards down. Now, could we work on this with a kid who's younger? Absolutely, we could. So this card, it has, like across the top here, if you guys can see, it has microscope written in purple. It has organic written in blue. It has salt written in orange. It has littlest written in red. It has doctor sideways here in green, which you probably can't see because we're on a green screen. Bouncer here, acorn here, pilot here, vanquished, and I think reigns is the only other one I didn't. Okay, on the back of the card, there's an A column and a B column so that you can agree before the game starts or not even discuss it. But if you're playing and once your kids get good at this, you can say, oh, we're only going to do ones from the A column. So you put the card out, and someone is the person who's asking the questions. You hold it up and you say, okay, which one of these things is a trampoline artist? Right? Now, if we're trying to teach a child who's a little bit older and has great language skills, that's the clue we're going to give them. And the answer, you really have to think, and it gets hard even for adults, but it teaches that flexibility, which one of these terms, and it's bouncer, because a trampoline artist is somebody who bounces. So it forces them to think of words in more than one way. It's like puns in reverse. Okay, but I could say find bouncer, or I could say find the yellow word that starts with a B, depending on what my child's skill levels are. But it really, it could grow with the child. And once you get to the point where you can say, for instance, in the B column, it says, it's in a nutshell. And the answer is acorn. I will tell you, I play this game and everybody is so busy poring over the card going, which one can it be? Which one fits? And now that my son is in 6th grade, this is exactly, each week they have to do a thing called a Wordly Wise. This is exactly the kind of things that they need them to work on. And what is it? It's SAT prep, to be able to understand words from all different kinds of ways. And sometimes they're funny. So there's one in here that says run over by a truck, vanquished, because vanquished, right? So teaching them to look at language in different ways. Each card has other words on them with other clues on the back. There's one here, the word is dog on here. I don't see where it is. It's because I'm looking at the wrong card. The word dog is on here, and it says pants for treats. Kids love these, and it really, really helps them. So that's Oddly Obvious. Again, it's our toy of the hour. You can win this box right here. You have to be signed up for our email list, and you must write to me at s.penrod@autism-live.com. Tell me which toy you want from today, whether you want Oddly Obvious or can you name 5, the one from the previous hour. Tell me why you want it, and make sure you include your mailing address, because I will need to mail it to you, and I cannot mail it to you if I do not know your address. So of our correct responses, we will be picking a winner for this game. Now, you can only win 1 toy per day, but you can win today, and you can win on Tuesday, and you can win on December 10th. We will take responses, but you must be signed up for the newsletter. We will cross-check to see that you're signed up for the newsletter. All right, we are now going to take a break, and when we come back, we have a follow-up that somebody wrote in about the IEP tips that I gave earlier, and then we are going to get to breaking down toys, what types of toys, what's good for what's the purpose, what is a task completion toy? You hear us talk about it, so what is it and why is it good? So take a look at this and we'll be right back.
Hi, Susie Taylor with Autism Live. We're here at Denim and Diamonds, and we're asking everyone to make sure that they take the Autism Active Love Challenge.
Hi, I'm Nolan Gould, and join me in taking the Autism Active Love Challenge.
Hi, I'm Holly Robinson-Peete, and please join me in taking the Autism Active Love Challenge.
Hi, I'm Sophie Rose. Join me in taking the Autism Active Love Challenge.
Hey, I'm Haley Pullis. Join me in taking the Autism Active Love Challenge.
I'm Sam Rubin. Please join me in challenging your friends, and I'm challenging you to take the Autism Love Challenge.
Hey guys, what's up? I'm Lauren Mayhew, and join me in taking the Act of Love Challenge.
Hi, I'm Ray Parker Jr., and I challenge you to take the Autism Active Love Challenge.
What's up, guys? I'm Coy Stewart, and please join me in taking the Autism Active Love Challenge.
Hi, I'm Daniel Baldwin, and I challenge you to take the Autism Active Love Challenge.
I challenge you.
Ooh, is Billy ready for the challenge?
Oh, he wants to know if you're ready for the challenge.
I'm ready for the challenge.
Hi, I'm Billy Baldwin. I'm taking the Autism Love Challenge in honor of my nephew Atticus, and now I'm going to draw something with my eyes closed for somebody that I love very much. Okay. All right, I challenge my brother Alec, my brother Stephen, and President Obama to take the Autism Love Challenge. Also, donate to helpforautism.org. Together, we can make a difference.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I want to address a couple of different questions that have come in on the live feature. And first, to Mike Kipple, I hope you were watching when Milo was on, and I think that's what you were referring to. I don't know if Robokind is going to be at the Wisconsin Autism Society, but check on their website, on Robokind's website, to see if they're going to be there. I know I'm going to be checking out their website later on to see all the places they're going to go, because I just loved little Milo. He was fabulous. Okay. First of all, I want to go back to the person who wrote in about the IEP, and they said, thanks for the IEP tips. Follow-up question. In previous IEPs, the school would say the concern is out of their hands and we have to sign disagree on the IEP and move on to due process. And they wrote, accept that, ? And love the cricket tip. You're the best, Shannon. I'm sarcastic sometimes, and I appreciate that you get that. But, let them talk and let them dig their own hole, right? And I love that you loved that. Okay, so here's the deal. So with FAPE, they have to give you an offer in writing for a free, appropriate public education. You do have the right, and you should remember that tape recorder. Make sure that you say to them, when they say this is what we have that's free, appropriate public education, make sure that you say to them, what data do you have to show that this is effective? Because that sets you up if you do have to file due process. And schools don't want to have to do due process. It costs them money. Some people have estimated that just to file the paperwork for due process costs the school district like $10,000 to hire the lawyers and to go through that process. I'm sure that it differs in different states and different lawyers and different school districts, but it's a pain in their you-know-what, and they try to minimize if they have to go to due process. They will go to due process if they feel like they can win, and if they feel like they need to make an example of you early because you're going to rally other parents together and they want to set a precedent. And anytime that they feel like they can win, it goes hand in hand with the other one because they feel like they can set a precedent and they want to get it on the books because it scares other parents into saying we're not going to do due process. You do need to know that in a lot of states it's very difficult for a parent to win due process, and it's very expensive. So this is why I say we play chicken about, you have to be just annoying enough to have them believe that you're not going to go away, not so annoying that they feel like they have to make an example of you, and I'm very bad at that, so you don't want to take advice from me about that. And you want to get what you want to get, and that being reasonable that you were talking about, because if the school feels like that there is a way that they can make you happy so that you will sit down and be quiet, they will try to accommodate that if they can. They will try to do that because it saves them money in the long run. If what you're asking for costs them $10,000 and you would be happy and sit down, or they can take you to court and spend, the first filing costs them $10,000, they take that into consideration. So you really have to know what it is that you want, but they do have to provide a free, appropriate public education, and they owe you an explanation of why it's appropriate. And they cannot say, because that's all we have. They cannot say, because that's all we can afford. They can't. And if they're saying to you, well, we need you to go to another district, they're saying, we don't have FAPE for you here. We need you to go to another district. They still have to tell you what is appropriate at that other district. So when they say to you, I hope you have a tape recorder running, because if they say to you, it's not our concern, ooh, bad on their part. Bad on their part. Because if you have that on a tape recorder and you're doing filing for due process, that will not look good for them, because clearly it is their concern. A free, appropriate public education is entirely their concern, and they have a responsibility to give it or to make it possible for you to get it someplace else on their dime. So if you have them saying that's not our concern on a tape recorder, I would encourage you to start looking at really good lawyers, because you're going to get what you need. If you don't have that on a tape recorder, don't panic, but stay reasonable and say, can you show me where that's effective? And when they say to you that you have to sign, you're under no pressure to sign. Until you sign that paper, whatever IEP you last had is in force. Now, if you drag your feet, I'm queen of this, they can file due process against you. I've had that happen to me not once, twice, due process. But they can't force you to sign that piece of paper saying you disagree. They just can't. And as long as you don't sign that piece of paper, that other IEP is in force. It behooves you, if that other IEP wasn't working, and that's what it sounds like from the things that you've written to me, it behooves you to look at what you want to do to get changed to something that's good. If your child is acting up to the point where they're saying that they're missing classwork, I want to know, where are they taking him? When he's melting down and having a tantrum and having aggressive behavior, what are they doing with him during that period of time when they've taken him out of the classroom? Because if they're not equipped to deal with that, that's a bad scenario. And I would love to see you get that scenario turned around. So you don't have to sign. You can say, I'm reviewing it with my lawyer, right? It depends on how far you want to push them, how quick. But I would very quickly, it sounds like they're in a bind and they know they're in a bind. They don't have FAPE for you. So they're trying to find a place to put you, which is going to cost them money anyway. So get ahead of it. Find the place that you want to go to and say to them, here's what we need and here's why it's appropriate. Can you show me why yours is appropriate? I think you're going to do better with that. You know what they say, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, right? So be nice, but get that duck in a row, know exactly where you want your child to go. Okay, now our next question that we had, somebody said, Shannon, after using the BIP builder, do we go through the plan with the child, such as appropriate and inappropriate behaviors and the consequence? Our kids are so smart, I'm sure they'll find loopholes. Ah, I love you. Okay, it really depends on the child. Obviously, you know, we do behavior intervention plans all the time without thinking about it. If you think about it, the child came out of the womb and you had a behavior intervention plan because when the child cried, you know, you decided, the first thing I'm going to do is check their diaper. And if it's wet, I'm going to change the diaper. That's a behavior intervention plan, right? And we don't tell that to a newborn. We don't say to the newborn, hey, you know, you're crying, so I'm going to check your diaper. And if it's wet, then I'm going to change your diaper. We just don't explain that to them because we know receptively they're not going to get it. It's not going to make sense to them. Although the child gets this over a period of time and learns, I cry, they check my diaper. They do get it and will cry when their diaper is wet so that it will be changed. So, you know, the thing is that you have to pick and choose which child and under which circumstances am I going to tell them. There are times when I tell my highly verbal child, usually I start it without telling him and I see if he's just going to get it on his own, because a lot of times in life, people don't tell you what the rules are and you have to pick it up, and I kind of want him to be moving into that arena where he gets it on his own. But if it's not working with the speed that I want it to, then I'll pull him aside and go, hey dude, look, here's what's happening. When you do this, this happens, and when you don't do this, this happens. Figure it out. Which one do you want? And I leave it as a choice to him. And sort of, you know, like just give him the clue about what's happening. But if you're especially worried about a child who finds a way around things, let's just talk about how great that is, because you've got a highly intelligent child who's working you. And then you just have to shore up your thing and not allow yourself to be worked, which is hard. I fail at this pretty much every day. But, you know, you can say, here are the circumstances, here are the whatever. And there are times when I say to my son, this is non-negotiable. I love that you're negotiating with me, but this particular thing is non-negotiable. You can continue to ask me questions about this, but this is the way it's going to be. And I do that with exactly the face I just gave you. I don't go, look, I'm not negotiating this. I go, hey, this thing, off the table negotiation. I love that you want to negotiate it. You know mommy loves it when you negotiate, but not this one. So figure it out. What are you going to do? Here are your choices. Boom and boom. And then I shut down reactions so that I'm not feeding potential attention seeking or trying to get out of doing a task. Because, you know, I love in The Incredibles, in that movie, when they talk about how when villains get monologuing, and that's when they distract somebody. So I try not to get into a thing where I'm doing this and my son is getting out of doing the thing that he wants to do. It's hard. I participate in that on a regular basis. So pick and choose. And for some things I do tell my son, other things I don't, depending on the age, depending on the skill and how fast you want them to learn it, how urgent it is that they learn it fast. Sometimes it's just easier to give them the clues and go, here's what's happening. If you want to know how this works, here's how it works. I do think it's good some of the time to not share that with them, because in life, they're not always going to tell them what the rules are. So, and it fosters questions. Eventually they say, my son is saying, what's happening here? Why is this changed all of a sudden? Great question. You know, so anyway, I hope that's helpful. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're taking on the toys. We're talking about what kinds of toys, for what kinds of skills, at what kind of levels. Stick with us. Another parent wants to know, how do I find out that one thing that my kid is really good at?
Now, when they get older, they're going to kind of divide into two groups. You're going to have the kids that become verbal, and then you're going to have the kids that are nonverbal, got many more problems. Maybe they still have epilepsy or some other problem. And they kind of need different services. And the ones that get verbal, what we need to be doing with them is develop the area of strength. And that area of strength often will show up around 3rd or 4th grade, sometimes earlier. But my ability in art showed up when I was in 3rd and 4th grade, and it was always encouraged. And I was encouraged to do lots of different kinds of art. Otherwise, it would have just been endless horse heads. You know, Mother would say to me, why don't you draw a picture of a beach or something else? You want to broaden it out. If the kid's fixated on trains, let's teach reading with trains, math with trains. Tap into that fixation, but develop the area of strength. Some kids it's going to be art. Other kids it's going to be mathematics. So you got a 3rd grader who's smart in math, and he wants a 6th grade math book. Give him the 6th grade math book. Don't bore him with the baby stuff. But that kid's going to have trouble with reading, because the common thing is the uneven skills. And then you have the kids that are the history buffs, and these kids are often really good at writing skills. You tend to have uneven skills, but tap into their fixations and use those to motivate, but broaden. If he likes trains, just watching them, well, we're going to take that interest in trains to do some math with it, or maybe read about the history of the railroad. You know, tap into that motivation. One of the things I really want to talk about is we got to stretch these kids. I'm not talking about physically stretching them, mentally stretching them to do new things. I'm seeing too many kids that haven't learned how to shop, how to order food at McDonald's. So you start out, let's say it's ordering food at McDonald's or at Burger King. So you take them up there and they watch you order it. And then eventually you go in when the store's not busy, and they have to go up and order it while you're sitting at the table watching, and then you coach them. And then eventually they can go in the restaurant themselves. I can remember I was scared to go to the lumber yard alone and buy lumber. And Mother made me go. And she knew I could do it. I had bought lumber with her many times. But there's a tendency to want to have somebody else there when they do it, and they've got to learn how to do things alone. And you gradually have got to kind of push it. You've got to stretch them. And I'm seeing too many kids not learning basic skills. Saw a 19-year-old honors student that actually knows how to drive that had never shopped in the grocery store all by herself. That is just ridiculous. You know, you've got to stretch them. You push too hard, there can be panic. And the other thing is no surprises. No surprises. I knew all about the ranch long before I went there. I talked to Ann. But if you don't stretch these kids, they don't grow.
Welcome back. I've been promising that we're going to talk about toys and about play skills. So I want to go through a wide range of toys and what they're good for. And I'm going to pair it up with the play curriculum in skills, because all of these things that we're going to talk about, there are lessons that go along with them if you want to find them in skills for autism.com. But it's a really good representation of what play is. I want to remind all of us that play is important. Play is an important skill because it's a precursor to some really hefty social skills that, you know, we build friends through like interests, and that starts around play. And if you think about who your friends are in life now, they probably have a like interest in the things that are the more fun things in your life, which may be work, which may be skiing, right? But there's an element of play that's involved in that. So play is important. And for our kids who are on the autism spectrum, we shouldn't assume that play and toys are reinforcing. I know that that's all of our MO. We think, oh, play is fun and all kids love toys and all kids love all toys. It just isn't true, right? And even we don't like all toys. If you think about it, there were toys that you loved as a child, and then there's toys that you just didn't pick up, right? Because they just weren't reinforcing enough for you. So for our kids who are on the autism spectrum, sometimes their focus is so narrow that maybe there's only one toy, or they don't like toys. Maybe they're playing with letters and it feels disheartening. You go to the toy store and you feel, I'm left out of this, and the holidays can feel like a really difficult time. Well, the truth is that we can build interest in things by pairing it with other things. So for instance, for the child who loves to play with letters and likes textual things, we can pair that with a toy and make that toy more reinforcing for the child. Maybe it's not going to be the be-all end-all toy for them, but maybe it will. This is how we broaden a kid's interest. So I want to talk about the wide range of play skills and what kinds of toys that they go along with, and why they're important for our game later on. Okay, so, and you can start thinking about, ooh, did we miss that step? Maybe we need to go back to that step with a more age-appropriate way. So let's start with early interactive play. And the kinds of things that we're talking about there are early social games. What am I talking about? I'm talking about playing peekaboo, doing things like patty cake, which is such a fun thing. Now, I'll give you a hint for kids who are on the autism spectrum. Sometimes they don't find people as reinforcing, right? For other kids, when we're playing patty cake and playing peekaboo, they're all enthralled because they want to see our facial expressions. For our kids on the autism spectrum, that isn't necessarily the case, so we have to add something to it. There's a game that I like to play with patty cake that is guaranteed to get, you know, most kids, we can't ever say all kids, but most kids involved. And it's that first you show them, you say, we're going to play patty cake, and obviously you don't know that they're understanding the receptive words that you say, but you play patty cake with them and you show them, we're going to clap our hands together. And a lot of times the kid is like, I don't, you know, who cares, right? And so you start to sing the song and you go patty cake, and before you get very far, you have their hands miss. You're guiding their hands, you're prompting them through that, and you have their hands miss, and you go, what happened? You're supposed to clap your hands together, and you tickle their belly and you go, clap your hands together, right? And the child's like, wait, something happened here, I missed. And now you've got their attention, right? So you show them again, say, we're going to clap our hands and we're going to say patty cake, patty cake, patty cake. And then you go back to prompting them and you go, patty cake, baker's man. What happened? Now the child is like, wait a minute, I'm getting this big reaction. I don't really know. And you make sure you tickle them and do something that is fun for them along with it. But you do the big reaction and they're paying attention now. They're like, wait a minute, something's going on here. And eventually the child will start to, as you're prompting them to miss, they'll try to make the hands hit. And it becomes this interactive social moment. We always make it that it's fun that they missed. And we go, we have to hit our hands together. You missed. So it's not like, what are you doing? You're doing this all wrong kind of thing. But anyway, it creates that eye contact and that social moment, and we're giggling together, and sometimes other people come over and are playing it together. I don't know why, but our kids on the spectrum tend to, again, not all of them, love when something goes wrong. Like if they're playing blocks and we're trying to get them to do blocks, and we'll talk about this in a second, it's not enough to stack the blocks, because who likes that? But if we have the car crash into them, suddenly we have their attention, right? And if you think about it, this is good script writing. Anybody who's ever written a script, we have to have some conflict to keep attention, right? Our kids with autism understand that, so we put some conflict into it. Okay, so early social games, those kinds of things, and there are a vast array of them, and different cultures have different things they like to do, but it's a thing that we're doing with a child. It can be as simple as they have the spaghetti arm things where you take their arms and you go, we're going to do spaghetti arms, we make a noise and the kids laugh, and we love that, okay? Those are all early social games because it takes two to participate in it. Then there's read to me books and nursery rhymes. It's so important that we start as early as we can. If you've got a 14-year-old, start now. If you have got an 18-month-old, start Start now. Read to your children. And if you're pregnant, you know what they say, read to your pregnant belly, because they can hear sound and it's relaxing to them. We read to my pregnant belly, and we started reading to my son. Sometimes you have to pair it with something else to make it exciting. For my son, I would give him a cold green apple. Oh my goodness, he would sit and let me read a book because he got to hold the green apple. I also love it when you make it interactive. Love Usborne books where they have the duck on every page and you say, where's the duck? And they have to find the duck. But the truth is you can do that with any book. So you turn the page and you say, you know, where's the dog? Or, you know, where's the princess's crown? Where are the shoes? And you make them point, where's the bear with the yellow coat, right? And you reward them when they get that. That's how we make it interactive. That's so important. That builds on so many social skills for later on, and it helps with attention and focus. Do it, and if you didn't do it now. You can read to an 18-year-old, you guys. It's an important skill. Okay, then there's music and movement. These are all, again, interactive games where we want to give them some kinds of toys that make noise, but you don't have to go out and buy the expensive instruments. You can take all of the different food storage things that you have, be they glass, tin, or plastic, and put them out and take out your wooden spoons and see what noises they make and interact and make a noise, and then have them make a noise. And then you can beat on, you know, vary it up, but these are fun games. Then we move on to also interactive, but a little bit higher skill is treasure hunt. We showed you Clue the other day, which is a great game to help facilitate it, but you can make a treasure hunt anywhere. You can do this with a small child by taking a toy and taking all the cushions off the couch and hiding a different toy underneath each cushion and say, we're on a treasure hunt, we're going to find the treasure, find the toys. And then later on you can make it more complex. I did this as a high school senior. We would split up into teams of 3 and do the backward thing and hide you know, anywhere in the house. I remember finding a clue in a lemon in a refrigerator once, playing this in high school. It's fun, and there are lessons and skills to do it. Then we have card and board games. This is such a great social starter for kids to play board games like this. If the whole family's sitting there, there's interaction. We have too much time playing screen time. It teaches winning and losing, taking turns, patience, reading, interacting, all those things. Then we have locomotor play. That can be things like the plasma cars that we're giving away on Tuesday, being on a tricycle, those kinds of things. We need to have our kids engaged in movement. It could be something like playing on the Wii if they're getting up and being on the balance board. Other systems have other ways that the kids can interact. But remember, we want it to be interactive. It's not enough for the child just to be out doing the tricycle. We want it to be interactive. And then we get to peer play with interactive games. There's a period of time in which the kids play side by side, and we want to encourage that, but then we want to bridge that gap, and usually that can happen, you know, for some kids as early as 4, but if your child isn't interacting at 4, don't worry, it can come later where they start to play together. Okay, so let's talk about pretend play. We gave you jargon on Tuesday about functional pretend play. That's when you're playing with something, you know, so that the child gets a fake cell phone and they're making a call to grandma on the fake cell phone that looks like a real cell phone, and this is social play. It gives them an opportunity to not get it right. We don't want kids for the first time picking up a phone and saying hello with a real phone, right? This is rehearsal for life. It's wonderful. So functional pretend play, it looks like the thing, but it doesn't function completely like the real thing. It's the toy version of the real thing. Okay, then we get into symbolic play. So I've got the cell phone here that looks like the cell phone, but if I want to get into symbolic play, I might take a notepad and I draw on it, and I'm going to endow this with properties of a cell phone. So I'm going to go bring, bring, and I'm going to go hello. Oh, it's for you. And now it's a symbol of a cell phone. It isn't a cell phone. This is an important leap. When you talk about, I want my child to have imagination, how can I teach imagination? We've got to teach symbolic play. So maybe we start, and there are lessons for this, right? I'm running through this really quickly. But we start with the thing that represents the thing and go to the toy version of it, and then we do something with a pad of paper. I remember tearing up a napkin and playing with my nieces and nephews and pretending it was a deck of cards, and they thought it was hysterical, right? An important level, a jump to get to creativity, go to symbolic play, and then Then we go to imaginary play. That's when we get rid of all of it and we just pick up the imaginary phone and I go, hello, oh, it's a phone call for you. Another leap. And our kids with autism are so literal, they're like, there's no phone there. But if I still keep playing with it and I make it fun enough for them, eventually they'll answer the imaginary phone. I loved when my son made the leap to do this. He had a fishing pole and he would play with his fishing pole. And then one day I took him to a Sam's Club and he wanted to be on the cart, the big flatbed cart, and he got on the flatbed cart and he started with his imaginary fishing pole and he pretended that he was fishing at Sam's Club. I'm telling you, I about got down on the floor and kissed the floor. It was so exciting. It's a huge leap and the sky is the limit when they make that leap. Okay, so, and then also in pretend play is sociodramatic play. This is when maybe they put on costumes and dress up as the firemen and they act like the firemen and say there's a fire and we all need to leave, right? Well, when they do that, they're perspective taking. What does a fireman say? What does it feel like to be a fireman? What am I going to say if I'm a fireman? And then they change roles and go, okay, now I'm the family dog, and now I'm the mommy, and now I'm the baby, and now I'm, you know, it's amazing what kids can do. We give them the functional pretend play kitchen, and they play house, and they take on these other roles. For our kids with autism, really fun for them, you know, go to a garage sale, buy all the old Halloween costumes, have them dress up and take on the characters. Sometimes they really, really enjoy that, and you can make it worthwhile for them. Okay, let's go to an electronic play, because this is a whole area where our kids in the beginning maybe don't know what that is, but as soon as we get them in touch with that, a lot of our kids, this is where they find the most reinforcement. So we have audio and video play. All those video games, all the apps, all of those different things, electronic toys that make noises, super duper fun. Those, a lot of those are cause and effect toys. So we'll see that, you know, I push this button and something happens. This is a great thing that we want our kids to learn. And it gets progressively harder. Like I remember the first thing that we had was a Sesame Street thing where you pushed a button and, Elmo popped up and said something. And then you could push him down. And then you slid a button and maybe Oscar the Grouch jumped up and said something. And then you pushed him down. And each button, you had to manipulate it in a different way. So we were working on adaptive skills, but it was a cause and effect toy and there was an electronic component to it. I love the toys that you can take the sound and put them down. Be looking at those when you're buying a toy. Like Fisher-Price is great about that because some of our kids are sound sensitive. But when we teach that early, push a button and something happens, it's a great social lesson for them, a great cognition lesson for them, and it will help them with the electronic things that they're going to deal with later on in life. And of course, as I said, the video games, amazing, what they can do for our kids if we are mindful about what it is that we want to teach. I really want to encourage everyone to keep violent games out of your children's hands as long as you possibly can. I know that their peers are playing them, but it isn't good for our kids. I don't think it's good for those kids either. But keep it out of your child's hands as long as you possibly can. All right, now we're going to move on to construction play. This is like block construction. We're going to be talking about Legos in the coming weeks and how amazing they are, and even those just basic blocks. Again, when we first got the first bucket of Legos for Jem, he didn't like them. We didn't know it was going to be a lifelong passion for him, but we started with making just little towers with a 4 top and stacking them as high as we could and then letting him knock them over. And he thought that was so great that then he got into building bigger walls that were harder to knock down, and then he started building boats, and then it was Katie bar the door. He loved everything Lego, and it was right at about that time that he discovered Star Wars, and then the Star Wars Legos, and heaven help me. But block construction is great for our kids because it involves modeling. Sometimes later on it involves following instructions. That's what I call them at home. Instructions. It involves thinking things through about what will knock this down, what will make this work. They have to think of things in different ways. By the time Jem was 4, he was building Lego structures, and he knew he would wake me up on a Sunday morning and come to me, and he wasn't verbal enough he would point, and eventually he would say, I need a red undergripper. I need a red undergripper. And I was like, what's a red undergripper? And he'd show me the picture, and I'd go, okay, that's a good name for it, a red undergripper, because it gripped underneath. And I would have to go through all of the vast number of Legos to find that one piece, because he was building something and he needed to spec it out that way. Brilliant, brilliant things for our kids to work on. Structure building. Also great, though, for our kids to work on sand and water constructions. Those sand and water tables for our kids who are preschool and in kindergarten age, great because it's great texture, and it's fluid, and they can build all kinds of things, and you put the sand and the water together and you get mud. I know, we used to make mud pies. Kids today don't make mud pies. It's good for our kids to make mud pies. A lot of them will get upset and not want to have their hands dirty. Encourage them to do it. If you really can't get them to do it with sand and water, have them do it with a food substance that you can allow them to get messy, and if they lick it off, it's fun times, right? Clay constructions, Play-Doh. Play-Doh is wonderful. But for our kids who are allergic to gluten, make sure that you get something that is gluten-free. There are recipes. You can make it yourself. You can make it scented. Oh my goodness, there's so many things you can do. And then you can use all the little Play-Doh fixtures, which then cross over to be functional pretend play. Just make sure that when you're doing functional pretend play along with clay structure kinds of things, that the kids understand that they can't eat those. Like my son had one that made French fries, and we had to make it clear that he couldn't eat the French fries. And then, of course, there's arts and crafts. And I refer to our wonderful Smarty that you can learn how to do arts and crafts. We have more than a dozen. I think we have 24 of them now that you can do arts and crafts with your child. It's important to do that. You in order to get to creativity, we have to give them the opportunity to be creative, and arts and crafts are great for that. And they work on so many things, including fine motor and visual motor. Okay, and then our last category is independent play. Independent play is when kids will play on their own. And if you think about it, there's so many things. We talked about our locomotor play. There's a certain level in which kids can do sensory motor kinds of things on their own and enjoy them. So maybe that's the sit and spin, where the child sits and spins themselves, or is on the tricycle out by themselves. And manipulative play, all those little toys that they can play together, and do things with. All the little action figures are great, and we want to encourage independent play when they're doing that. Then task completion play. This is a whole array of toys, and you have to do something to get something to a certain point. So, off the top of my head, I'm thinking of those Perplexus balls. That it's a big ball with a track inside, and there's a little silver ball on it, and you have to turn it to make the ball get all the way out. And they range from really easy to do to really complex toys. But it's great for your child to have task completion toys of varying arrays for a couple of different reasons. One of my favorite task completion toys is a marble run. If you've got boys or girls that are under the age of 6, get yourself a marble run, because it's got all these pieces and they can put it together, which teaches them building constructions, right? But then there's the marble, and they have to earn the marble, and you say, here's your marble, you put it together, here's your marble. They put it in the top, and it's going to go through the whole thing, and then it comes out, and we all go, yay, you did it. Now it's done. You take the marble back, and we go back to work. Especially when we're starting out with a child and we want to teach them reinforcement. You do something and you get a reward for it. We need it to be reinforcing, and we need it to be something that we're not teasing them with, that it can end, has a sharp end to it. Otherwise, if you say, do this, and then you earn your teddy bear, you give them the teddy bear, and they're off and running, and now you're going to go take the teddy bear away from them to do the next lesson. I know some very skilled therapists who can do that, and the child doesn't scream and cry, but I don't know very many parents who can do that. I can't do that. I can't do that at all. So task completion toys are great because it has a beginning, middle, and an end, and hopefully it's not a long middle, right? So that we can get back to the work. So it's a good reinforcer that you can use, and kids like it because it's like, you did it. It's wonderful. And then the other thing that we want to talk about are building play stations. If you've got a child who only will play with one toy, and that's it, and they're not showing any variety, you set up play stations, and you can make a visual schedule for your child and say, say, okay, for the next 5 minutes, we're going to play with, the Barbie Funhouse, and we're going to be there and we're going to play together. And then, when the timer goes off, then we're going to move to the pretend kitchen, and we're going to be playing, we're going to make eggs and do this. And then when the timer goes off again, then we're going to play with this video game. And then when the timer goes off again, then we're going to go to the next station. And we work on that for a period of time until the child is able to do that themselves. We give them the visual schedule and say, go do this. Because what we've done then is created an environment in which the child can go play by themselves. Now you can cook dinner. I know. Did someone just hear the angels sing? I did. But not only that, it's not just that you can go and you can go and make dinner, but the child will start to be reinforced by all those things, and your child will know, I'm going to do more than one thing, so that we don't get the 16-year-old who only knows how to play one game and only wants to do that and doesn't want to do anything else. By the way, you can do this with that 16-year-old and say, okay, here's what we're doing on a Saturday. First, we're going to do this. For a half an hour, we're going to go down and we're going to play basketball. And then you're going to get to come home, and for a half an hour, you're going to get to play the game that you like to play. And then we're going to go to the store and we're going to do X, Y, and Z. And then after that, you're going to get to play your game again. And then after that, we're going to play a board game together, right? You can do that with a 16-year-old to get them to vary what they're doing. Otherwise, we lose our kids into the video game. So that's the vast array. Now think about all the toys that you want to get your child, and think about where your child is socially and what you want to work on in that array, and start to plug in toys. Oh, I need a task completion toy because, I need to get my child to enjoy being read to and reading as a pastime. I'm telling you, give that gift to your child. Make it reinforcing. Find the way for it to be reinforcing. If you have to say, I'm going to, give you a half an hour of video games for every half hour that you read, do what you have to do, but make the reading reinforcing. Make sure that you get books that interest them. Encourage the sociodramatic play. Encourage the symbolic and the imaginative play. I think the electronic play they're going to do on their own, and definitely include the block destruction. There I go, saying it again. All right, we have to take a break, and then we're going to come back. I've got other things that I want to talk with you about, so stick with us.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The skills assessment and curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mands, tacks, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back. We're getting close to the end of the show, and I had so many more things that I wanted to cover. But I wanted to take a second to talk about some things having to do with Thanksgiving and stress. Because really, this week, you know, we've been leading up to it, but it's total kickoff for holiday season. Nobody's waiting till Friday anymore after Thanksgiving. The stores are already packed with people, and it's easy to get overwhelmed by it all. So I want to remind you that we all have the ability. First of all, you can download our free meditation for stressed out parents on our blog. Just scroll through on the blog. It's not that far down. You can find it and download it. It's totally free. And one of the things that it encourages you to do at the end of the meditation is whenever you want to take a 3-breath mini vacation. A 3-breath mini vacation. We all can afford a 3-breath mini vacation, and we can do it multiple times during the day. And what that is that you take a second and to mindfully take 3 big deep inhales and 3 exhales. I used to love, you know, I love me some Oprah. And she used to have Norman the Monk on. And this is what Norman would always talk about, is that everything in the world can be improved by 3 slow, deep inhales with 3 conscious exhales. That whatever you're going through, it can be better. Maybe it's just a hair better, but better is better, right? Progress is progress. So I love to do it when I get in the car, that as I'm putting on my seatbelt, to stop and take those 3 breaths and remind myself that I'm driving, something that weighs a lot, and that whatever was weighing on me before I got in the car, I can stop for a second and take a 3-breath mini vacation. You can do it while your child's tantruming. You can. You just have to do it mindfully. You have to make sure that everything is safe and your child is tantruming, but then there's nothing that they can hit. And you say, while he's doing this or she's doing this, I'm going to take a 3-breath mini vacation to remind myself that it's going to be okay, and this moment is not going to last forever. You're standing in line, in those long lines at the grocery store this weekend, take the 3-breath mini vacation. You'll notice that everything sort of settles in after that, and sometimes you want to take another one, and that's okay. We just don't want to hyperventilate. Slow inhales, mindful exhales. You can be thinking something while you do that. Something wonderful like let it go, let it go. I love Frozen, and the fact that this song is such a big popular thing. It's our theme song right now in the house. Let it go, because there's a lot of stuff that we just don't need to carry around. And the fact that the guy next to you had to have the parking spot that you had your blinker on forever, right? And you want to argue with him, you can just take 3 inhales and exhales and go let it go, because clearly he's got more going on today than I know. So be mindful, take those breaths, take the 3 mini vacations. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about Tuesday, because next week we only have 1 show. And then I want to get to these really quickly. So next week on the show, the one and only show, is a big show. Nancy may or may not be joining me. I invited her yesterday, and she's figuring out if she can be here, but we are going to give away some serious plasma cars on Tuesday. I'm not even pretending that it's a secret anymore. We're giving away some serious plasma cars. I believe I have 6 to give away, okay? Now, you have to sign up for that newsletter, and you've got to write into us and tell us that you want the plasma car. You can win today's prizes. We had 2 board games today. Write to s.penrod@autism-live.com. Tell me which toy you want, why you want it, and you must be signed up for the newsletter, and you must include in the email your mailing address, or I cannot mail it to you. And for the plasma car, when you want the plasma car, I will tell you on Tuesday. We need more information than that, because Plasma Car is going to ship it directly to you, and they need things like your phone number so that they make sure it gets delivered, and so on and so forth. So All of that's coming on Tuesday. I don't need your phone number, but Plasma Card does. Okay, and then also on Tuesday in the second hour, we're having Jennifer Jones is going to be talking with us about the Orange County Autism Speaks Walk, and I've been waiting forever. You guys, I'm so excited about this. Jess Block is going to be with us on Tuesday. She is the awesome autism mom that we talked about on the show before. She is a PR, a publicist, and she's an awesome mom, and she has a son who's on the autism spectrum, and she is the one that earlier this year, at the beginning of the year, one day got the phone call, your son is having difficulty breathing at school, can you come and get him? And by the end of the week, he had started chemotherapy. Unimaginable, a 7-year-old on the autism spectrum with cancer. It just takes my breath away every time I think about it. But we all said, you know, Jess, you're going to be able to lead the way and talk to all of us so that if for every time that somebody else goes through this, you're going to have blazed a trail for us. And she's speaking out for the first time with us on Tuesday. I'm already welling up thinking about it. It's going to be amazing. So that will be on Tuesday. Now, I've got, 2 minutes, Kelby? I just wanted to say that somebody wrote in and said, yesterday you mentioned a lunch buddy program for your child. Can we write that into the IEP, or is it a school program? You absolutely can write that into the IEP. Ask them to put a pragmatic language goal into your IEP. Ask them if you can call it whatever you want. My school called it Lunch Bunch, and say that you want it to, because there's a place in the IEP where it says who's delivering it, what's the goals, who's in attendance, and you can have them write into it that other children are participating in it, that it's facilitated by the speech and language pathologist, that you're working on pragmatic social goals with other children. You can absolutely, that's written into my child's IEP. Absolutely do that. And we had it written in so that it's once a week. It's Friday. It's his big treat. He loves that. Another person said, thanks for answering the due process question. I'm sorry for the confusion. I wasn't the other parent who wrote in the initial IEP question. I was just piggybacking, and thank you for sharing your wisdom. I love that. Totally didn't realize that, and sorry if I got confused in the other, but I hope it was useful to you. Mike Hipple wrote to us and said, to say at the IEP this sentence, we would like to do time in, not time out. And he said, how do you like that jargon? I love it. Because a lot of times when our child is tantruming, they take our child out of the class. And, that's where you really need to have the BIP and know what the intervention is that they're doing and that it's effective. A lot of times taking the child out of class is the exact wrong thing to do. I'm not saying it's always wrong, but if the child is trying to escape a task that's involved in the classroom and you take them out, woohoo, you just reinforce that behavior and it will continue to happen on a regular basis. So important that you ask for a functional behavior assessment if your child's ever being taken out of class, and then use the BIP builder on skills to write a BIP that effectively deals with it, and then they'll be held to it because the IEP is a legal document. We're out of time. But I'm speaking tonight in Riverside. I will post something about it on our Facebook so that you'll know where to go if you're in the Riverside area. I'd love to see you there if you're there in Riverside, California. But we will be here on Tuesday. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend and enjoy all the things that are now. We're all the way out of time, but please, until Tuesday, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you as well. Bye-bye for now.